A report has surfaced after their first game that the Milwaukee Bucks are interested and are pursuing PJ Tucker via trade. We're going to break down exactly what that report is and discuss what it can mean going forward as the Bucks now prepare for their home opener tonight. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage that aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. About 80% of you who are watching are not subscribed. It would mean the world to myself if you could hit that button, as this is the place to be for daily Bucks content. Now, obviously, the Bucks won their first game against the Sixers in convincing fashion. They played their home opener tonight, and it's going to be very interesting to see how everything is going. And of course, Chris Middleton has been ruled out again. We'll dive into that later in the video, but a big piece of information that came out over the past 24 hours and even more recently, the past 12 hours, is surrounding PJ Tucker. And about 11 hours ago, you can see here the Milwaukee Bucks have held trade conversation with PJ Tucker's representation per Kelly. So this is very interesting. And I made a video on this 2 or 3 weeks ago now, before the season actually got underway, of course, about PJ Tucker, his fit with the team, what it could look like, and why. Because the Bucks, of course, were linked briefly throughout the offseason for a guy in PJ Tucker. But now, after they played their first game, and it seems like the Clippers don't want anything to do with PJ, and he's sitting out at this point, the Bucks are interested in actively and have held trade discussions surrounding the 3-and-D forward who is approaching 40 years old. But let's dive into a few things here. So you can see this here. Former Milwaukee Bucks champion PJ Tucker is seeking a trade from the Clippers. The Clippers have made it very clear they do not want to simply waive PJ or stretch his deal or buy out his contract. He played 20 regular season games for the Bucks following the trade deadline in 2021, playing an important role as an energy defender and floor spacer during, of course, their 2021 championship. And then the Heat signed him for a 2-year deal. But right now, as I've discussed, he does not want to be in LA. He does not want to play for the Clippers. The Clippers do not want to buy him out. They want to trade him. The lack of playing time in Los Angeles is believed to be the strongest motive for the trade request, as he remains away from the organization. And the Athletics' Kelly Iko came out and said a number of contenders, including the Sixers, Heat, Bucks, and Suns, have held trade conversations with PJ's representation. The 14-year veteran remains away from the team, hopeful for a solution. So they have some competition here. And again, the Sixers are among teams, the Heat, the Bucks, the Suns, really all the classic teams that PJ Tucker and that, veteran guys would be interested in going to. But as you look into this further and further, and we'll dive into how it could fit, they're going to have to outbid if they really want PJ Tucker. And we're talking about a PJ Tucker sweepstakes in 2024, which is a bit ridiculous. But Sixers, the Heat, the Suns, and of course, the Milwaukee Bucks. I think he would fit the Bucks quite well. And we've discussed this in previous videos. I know a lot of you in the comment section of that video were saying he's really old, he's approaching the end of his career. Probably wouldn't be a great fit for the Bucks. I don't hate the idea of this, assuming you wouldn't have to give up anything at all. Because at this point, the thing that the Bucks need the most is defense. And we saw it, Gary Trent Jr.'s emergence on defense in Game 1. Having a big wing could help, especially at the point now where a lot of their players are older. You think about specifically Dame and Chris Middleton, injury-prone guys, and Chris Middleton is a guy who's not going to be a great defender, and he's going to have to battle on both ends of the floor, especially when he's healthy, in order to help uplift this team's defense that hasn't been very good at all. That being said, now that we're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, and if they can get a guy like PJ Tucker to swap him in, let him play maybe 10 minutes a game at this point, 10, 15 minutes, but come in when Chris Middleton is gassed, come in when Chris Middleton is in foul trouble, and just play defense. They have enough scoring in Dame. They have enough scoring Gary Trent Jr., Giannis Antetokounmpo, all of these guys. He would make some sense for the Bucks. And you can see, again, and he's familiar with the team. He's familiar with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton. Obviously, both of those guys were a part of their championship team in 2021. Now, Doc Rivers wasn't. There's obviously some familiarity with him just across the NBA. He's played with so many teams. And Dame, of course, wasn't there back in 2021. But it could be super interesting. And again, you can see this here. In Milwaukee, the presence of Tucker with Dame Lillard, a healthy Middleton, a stretch five, Brook Lopez, Gary Trent Jr. would open up the paint for Giannis to operate efficiently. When healthy, PJ Tucker is one of the best corner three-point shooters in the league. And over his career has been one of the better three-point shooters in all of basketball, in the corners only, off of catch and shoots. So if PJ can come in and just sit in the corner, let Dame operate, let Giannis operate, all of those things, could make a ton of sense for them, especially if they want to back up four. And as you look at the depth chart here, again, Dame, Gary, Middleton, Giannis, Brook. And again, when I'm talking about backup four, I'm really talking about the third string forward, because you know that Taurean Prince at this moment is their starting small forward because of the injuries to Chris Middleton. Now, depending how long Chris Middleton is out, depending if and when they make this trade for PJ Tucker would obviously factor into the backup power forward or backup small forward to power forward as long as Chris Middleton's out. And then once he's back, he'd slide down to the third string power forward, which would still allow him to get 5 to 10 minutes a game, sit in the corner, play some elite defense, do what he does best, which is at this point of his career, short spurts, play physical defense, can body up a lot of the small forwards out there, can just play pesky defense, which is something that this team desperately has needed. They're getting it now with Gary Trent Jr. We saw that they were getting it in game 1 against the Philadelphia 76ers when Gary was playing against Tyrese Maxey and the Philadelphia 76ers, and we saw Giannis Antetokounmpo come out and praise Gary about his defense. We saw Dame Lillard come out and praise Gary about his defense. The defense is looking better than it did last year. The team is looking better than it did last year. But if you can get a guy like PJ Tucker, who, again, at this point of his career is on the downward trajectory. He's not going to come out and average 20 points a game. I mean, never did. He's probably not even going to average 5 to 10 points a game. Probably come in, average a few points a game, play some really good defense, and just be a glue guy for the team. And not to mention, again, he's won a championship like a lot of the Bucks have, but having a veteran presence around this team, another one, and they already have a pretty veteran team, but just adding more veteran leadership to a guy like Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, who are both veterans themselves. They've both won to a degree. Dame obviously hasn't won a championship, but Giannis has. Just having more veterans surrounding an already veteran-filled team, you cannot go wrong with that, because at this point, they need championship players. And I'm not saying PJ Tucker skill-wise is a championship caliber player at this team, but he's a player that a lot of championship teams could be interested in pursuing. That's exactly why teams like the Sixers, Heat, Bucks, and Suns, all teams who have championship aspirations, are trying to trade for PJ Tucker. Now, when we're looking at a package, I don't know whether it's a second round pick, whether it's one of their young guys. I don't even think they'd want to give up. Maybe Beauchamp gets shipped out in a deal here. We know they've been shopping Beauchamp. He's the 5th string. He's not going to get many minutes. Former first round pick. I don't know if the Bucks want to give up. I feel like they'd rather just keep Beauchamp at this point than trading him for a guy like PJ Tucker. But that being said, I think a framework around that could potentially work. But overall, it's going to be up to them and up to John Horst and Doc Rivers to see what they want to do with this guy. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on the PJ Tucker situation. One other thing before we wrap up is, again, Chris Middleton is out for Friday's game against the Bulls. He's dealt with injury problems throughout the preseason, like we know. The Bucks will not rush him, and as they want to be healthy for good once he returns to the lineup, his next chance to play will, of course, come against the Nets on Sunday. So they obviously have the game tonight, their home opener against the Chicago Bulls. Should be a pretty good game. The Bucks should take care of business tonight. I'm hoping to continue to see what I saw on Wednesday night in their last game against, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers. I want to see pesky defense from Gary Trent Jr. He's probably going to get on, he's already regarding Zach LaVine, who had a pretty good season opener a couple nights ago. There's a lot of different things that are going down. So if they can clamp Zach LaVine, if they can just, kind of just let the team play the way that they played on Wednesday. That's all they have to do. Whether the Storm or the Chicago Bulls, they have some great offensive pieces, but the Bucks are the significantly better team, even though LaVine had a really hot start on Wednesday. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on all of this. What are your thoughts on LaVine or Chris Middleton being out once again? And also let me know your thoughts on, of course, the rest of this stuff we talked today, specifically regarding PJ Tucker being a Milwaukee Buck.